Hello and welcome to PPC Live, the podcast. I'm your host, Anu, the founder of PPC Live. And if you're used to hearing from experts about how to ensure that we are keeping up with the ever-changing landscape, don't worry, you are still in the right place. Every week, I speak to a different PPC expert about their biggest F-up, but also about how they've turned things around, the lesson they've learned, and how they decided to, do things differently that led to the success of their career. And, I can't think of anyone, as successful to give you such a brilliant story as my guest this week, Andrea Cruz. She, from the US, is the head of B2B at Tenuity, a very fantastic, long-lasting agency. And she just shares some of the lessons of even things that she's done repeatedly that after a while she realized was a mistake. And due to mentorship, she was able to turn things around and do things better, especially when it came to communications with her clients. So let's go speak to Andrea. Hello, Andrea. Welcome to PPC Live, the podcast.
Hi, Anu. Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to connect with you.
It's such a delight. Like I was saying about how you are doing the PPC Live branding better than me with your gorgeous red jumper and your the pink love size. We know that you're getting ready for Valentine's Day, so thank you very much for reminding, especially the guys who are going to watch this. They're now going to go, "Ooh, I need to remember to ask to get something for my girlfriend or wife." So thank you for helping the people in relationship out there for us. That's so amazing. And Andrea is one of those people who I have absolutely followed like religiously, like on LinkedIn and Twitter when Twitter was Twitter. I like the way, what was it that Kirk said, who I interviewed? He's like, Twitter was great, X is not. And it's like that's the clear distinction. Twitter was such a lovely space for the PPC environment and community. And I think a lot of us have now moved to LinkedIn and do more stuff on LinkedIn then. Like, do you still hang out on Twitter at all?
Rarely. I still
Yeah.
haven't. I know a
Yeah.
lot of people close their accounts. I kept mine and I would go in there and once in a while ask people something. Because
Yeah.
there's people I have on Twitter/X.
Yeah.
I don't think I know who they are.
Yeah.
So I've kept some of those relationships there because I think that's a wonderful thing that the internet did for all of us. How did
Yeah.
we all got connected, even though we're in opposite sides of the world, your
I
case and
think it
mine.
was those COVID years for me, especially like 2019, 2020. I really got in depth and found out all the folks in the US who do paid search. That's how I got to know all of you guys. And then we had the wonderful in-person meeting in Boston last year in June. And, to just, be like, oh, you're real, and hug people actually in person. That was really wonderful. But guys, my audience usually are like, Anu, you're rambling on again. Introduce us to your wonderful guest. So let me do that just now. Andrea is an award-winning B2B digital marketer and thought leader with a proven track record in speaking, publishing, driving innovation on a global stage. That is absolute fact. She's recognized as one of the world's top expert as one of only 13 LinkedIn certified marketing experts in North America. With more than 15 years of experience, she specializes in building effective strategies for large-scale B2B accounts, leveraging a solid foundation in data analytics, project management, and operational consulting. She's known for a hands-on approach and delivering value across the functions from international purchasing to process optimization, which is why you're the head of B2B in Tenuity. Yeah, head of B2B of digital marketing there in Tenuity. You've had such a fantastic career. You're one of those whenever you share that new title you've hit, I'm like, yeah, well deserved. About time, because genuinely it's like, yeah, about time. Of course you're head of B2B. Who else is it gonna be? You've been doing great work for such a long time. How does that make you feel?
I want to say that it's always weird to talk about myself in that sense, because
Yeah.
I get the pleasure in backstage, let's call it like that. We talk about this of how I'm doing what I love,
Yeah.
very appropriate.
Yeah, you
but
really do. You really do.
but
I love doing this thing.
I wake up in the morning and I'm happy I get to work and I get to work with people that are passionate about it. that will geek out about how we are the best division at Seniority, no questions asked, because we talk about B2B and people keep thinking, oh, B2B, that sounds so boring, it's so slow. There's groundbreaking work that it's
Wow.
happening in B2B and how we are positioning ourselves and our brands to be better.
Mm.
So I always find it exciting when we're looking at maturity curve and it's a brand that it's really nascent, but they're willing to let us going and do a relift of everything they're doing and think differently. So that's always very exciting.
Yeah.
As a personal story, I struggle a lot when people tell me, Andrea, you're so passionate about what you do. And I didn't notice it at the time. I thought I was
Mm.
just doing my job.
Job.
It took me years to come to the realization that it was true, that I am actually a little different than some people because
Yeah.
I wake up and I want to do this and I want to
Yeah.
learn about it
Yeah.
and I want to be better about it and how do we change perceptions. And I think that's something that's different about me.
It's fantastic. I do tend to relate with, that kind of passion. And because it's, people will be like, and why did you start PPC Live? Like, I mean, it's, you have a job and and it's because I don't know, there's so much of it that I feel that we should be doing and talking about it. And I always feel like I want to be like in charge of my career and just I like this thing I'm doing and I do it well. Not for the paycheck. Yeah, the paycheck is important. And, I make sure
I would
any
agree.
late invoices I chase. But, most of the days of the month, I'm just doing the work because I'm literally like, oh, this has to be done this way. Oh, we have to do it better. Oh, no, no, no. This is the better way. Not just, oh, I'm just going to do what my manager told me to do. There's something more to it. And that's what gives you longevity in any industry and makes it worth it, because at the end of the day, if you spend like, I don't know, 40, 50 years of your career and you just did what your manager told you to do and took home a paycheck, I think that sounds like a very boring way to live the life, right? Your people are doing something that they do wake up in the morning and go, yes, oh yes, I get to do this. I was saying we were talking about earlier on about how is it possible to be stressed about doing something you enjoy, and I feel like we can get like that, because it's like it's the first thing you think about when you wake up, and it's like that might not be healthy. People might hear that like that is not healthy, but look, we enjoy it. It's fine. We manage it with our health. But again, another fun thing that I'm actually going to leave you to say it because I like introducing, tell you saying a fun fact about my guest. So Andrea, what is your fun fact?
So this is weird, but when I lived in Venezuela, I would go to this gym to train and, do weightlifting and all of that. And I became a model for personal trainers to put in their poster. So you would go into the gym and you would see a poster of me training.
Wow. Wow.
So I did that for a little bit back in the
Wow.
day. So that's my fun fact unrelated to my
Oh my
work
God,
today.
unrelated to the career. I love that. But like, how did they approach you? And were you
Yeah,
like immediately, yes, yes, I'd love to do that? Were you guys that confident? You're like, yeah, I'd look good in a bikini on a poster. I don't know.
I was
Honestly,
like 19 years old. It was a different time, a different time, different body
right.
too.
We were all very confident when we were 19. All very confident with our body at 19. I know. I know.
And I think social media wasn't as big as today. I think today would be even more intimidating because it would not be poster and things like that. It would be
Yeah.
like online. And I think that
Yeah.
feels different.
Yeah.
I am that old that it was posters and not social media.
Gosh.
So
Wow. But
yeah,
yeah. And how long did you do it for?
it wasn't a long time. Let's call it 6 months. Because it was like a marketing campaign that some personal
Yeah.
trainers were doing for their
Wow.
own
Yeah.
collateral.
Amazing. I'm sure you brought a lot of business for those personal trainers. That's the thing, right? Because they're like, oh, look, like that's what you do to get the business. Now, definitely don't see those kind of posters anymore. I think they'll be like, yeah, or the whole objectification of things might be a bit of an issue. But oh well. Anyway, let's get into what our fantastic conversation is going to be about. As our audience now know, I get some of the best people in our industry, in our field, to share some big mistakes that they've made just to hone in on that fact that a mistake does not mean the end of your career. It doesn't mean oh my God, you're a failure and that's it. You can always turn things around, and we get the best stories and we get the best learnings from when things go wrong. And in this way, you can hear about some mistake an expert has made so that you don't make it. And, you can make your own individual unique mistake, but not the ones that have already been made. So yeah, I'm going to hand it over to Andrea now to share with us. What is the FF you'd like to share with us today, Andrea?
Yeah, and I'll say too, I know, I've learned in my growth as an individual that the mistakes I've made too are. I don't think if somebody would have told me, "Oh, just be careful with this," if I would have avoided them.
Mm,
But I appreciated the people that helped me get through it. So the quote unquote mistake I want to talk about is something that actually happened to me repeatedly as I
okay.
kept advancing in my career.
Yeah.
Because there was a point that I was no longer the sole person managing, for example, a paid search campaign. I don't know the day to day of some of the accounts we're handling because they're very large. Smaller accounts, it's easier to have that conversation, understand all the ins and outs. So one thing I noticed is as my career was progressing and accounts got more complex, is I would have clients coming and say, "Hey, you guys are doing this incorrectly," or "This is not right," or "You guys promised this and I was expecting something else." And I would freeze in some of those cases because I didn't know the exact answer. It's
Mm,
very difficult to go from being the day-to-day person that implements, has all the communication back and forth with the client, to now the person representing a team that is doing a wonderful, fantastic job,
yeah.
especially when they come very hard at you.
Yeah.
That was very difficult for me.
Yeah.
And I encountered that more than once where I would freeze in a moment. And what I've learned is with a lot of coaching from a lot of people who was my beautiful manager for years, Emily Kanoff, to more senior people like a Jesse Eisenberg here at Tenuity. How do you protect your team? Because you know that they're doing the job.
Yeah.
And sometimes clients are just pressuring you. That could be
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Two, they have a piece of the story, but they don't have the full puzzle. Yes, we told you we're going to achieve this, but then 1,000 other things change. So which ones can you come up with? One thing that also helped me a lot in my career is listening to what your rebuttal is to the situation, and buy yourself some time. Can you
Mm,
explain me more about that? Can you double
yeah.
that on that so you can get that time that you need to put your thoughts together and
Yeah.
actually spit back an answer?
Yeah.
Because sometimes you just need a second to collect what you are hearing and actually be able to provide something back.
Yeah.
That was something also as a person that English is not my first language.
Mm,
No, I don't think in Spanish, but I need like an extra second to connect my Spanish brain with the situation, with the risk, with what I know,
yeah.
with. I just need to buy myself some time. So how do I buy myself time to then be able to provide an eloquent response back?
Yeah.
Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yes, absolutely. So to just clarify, the mistake is, let's say you're working with a client, the result has gone bad, or even just something, they have a question, you don't have the answer for them, and you just decide not to respond to that. Is that what you're trying to say? What happens? What's the thing that happens, kind of thing? So a client is asking about something. Is it good or positive, or and you don't have a response, so you don't respond? What is the mistake that happens?
Say, I know I would not respond. And that
Okay.
would carry problems. Because a lot of times in your career, they tell you, "Oh, it's okay to say, I don't know."
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
not always
That's the
true.
question. Yes.
That is
Yes.
not
Yeah.
always true,
Yeah.
especially as you get more senior in your career. You are
Yeah.
expected to have a
To
point of
know.
view. You are expected to be able to provide something back. So when
Mm,
you say, "Let me get back to you and talk to the team," that sometimes doesn't fly anymore. There's a point
that's
in
not
your career
fine.
where saying, "I don't know," it's not always a good
It's
idea,
not a good idea. Okay.
depending on the situation too.
Yeah. So, do you have an example of the time where you didn't respond, and how did the client react? What was the point that made you go, "Oh my God, I really made a mistake in doing it
They
this
were
way"?
furious.
Okay.
They were
Okay.
absolutely furious.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It was evident that they were furious.
As in they'll come up back with like follow-up communication, and then just because
And
you're
then
not
the body
yeah,
language, the tone, it
yeah,
changes. It
yeah,
goes bad very fast, very quickly.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And in those moments, were you the one that then how so yeah, in this moment you realize you've made a mistake, client is angry. How do you keep your composure?
In Spanish, we say you swallow hard.
Okay.
In other words, you know you made a mistake, but you are in the situation and now you have to pivot at the moment.
Okay. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, no, that
Does
absolutely
it
makes sense.
translate
And
somewhat?
yeah. Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I
So
am a
you
very emotional person. That's my whole
yeah.
thing. I
Yeah.
like to say I'm really good at my job because I don't like conflict. So I never let it get to conflict.
Complex. Yeah.
And sometimes when you go into those situations, you just freeze and it happens.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
happens. And I think, again, as you progress in your career, sometimes saying, I don't know, I'll get back to you is not an okay answer.
It's not a
Because
good
there are
yeah.
things you must know, period.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so in those moments, like what is like a good timeline? Because I'd actually argue like this is something, especially when working in agencies, that it's actually I want to make sure that we send out a very good and clear message here of yeah, don't say you don't know, but also don't necessarily respond within seconds with a bad
Yes.
answer. So what is like the good timeline of like, yeah, think for a few minutes, but not a few days? What is like a good time frame of like, okay, you've responded quick enough, but you've already also given yourself time to think.
Yeah. Ask questions back.
Yeah. Okay. So straight away, even
Yeah.
ask
And
questions, follow up
I
questions.
personally
Yeah.
have questions already prepared in my brain.
Okay.
Help me a ton.
So what kind of prepared questions, regardless of the issue a client is gonna come up, will be
Can you
good to ask.
clarify what you meant by X?
Okay.
What is the timeline that you were hoping for? What
Okay.
was the timeline the team communicated? Are you aware of anything that you know about the situation that can give more context so they can talk to you about why they don't agree with whatever they were aware of?
Okay.
There are a lot
Okay.
of things like that that you can create your own questions to
Yeah.
actually be able to buy yourself time and create a response that makes sense in the situation as well.
Okay. All right. And in these kind of moments, you also like mentioned some really the people who were really helpful with you in terms of helping, like, mentoring you, and were there some people who kind of were like the challenge? I mean, apart from the clients asking the questions, who are the people who could be challenging that you might not think of at the moment, that could be the ones that get in the way? Or is it usually just a client and you situation that happens, that has happened before?
No, I the culture at Tenuity, we don't have that feeling of you did something wrong. I'll give you another example that happened in a previous life.
Good.
But it's always about understanding what's going on and how we're gonna fix it. I think having that solutions
Yes.
oriented helps a ton, especially if the team surrounding you has that same mentality.
Mm.
It's not
Mm.
about blame because we are already in this problem. So how
Situation.
do we move from where we are to where we want to be?
Yes.
And I think that's also a great piece of feedback for anyone that's a manager.
Yeah.
Sometimes we hyperfixate on how did you got here and why did you say that and what was
Mhm.
the answer. And it's like, does it truly matter? At
Yeah.
this point, where are we and where we want to go?
Yeah.
Sometimes that's usually just the best way to approach things forward. Yes, you have to document and all of that, but it's really important to think about that. Okay, I don't care about those details, but what do you need out of me to be able to get you to where you are?
Yeah.
And does that align where everybody's happy? We are happy, clients are happy, team is happy. And sometimes that's a balance that it's difficult to strike. But having that solutions oriented and identifying what are the priorities that we need to solve on
Yeah.
both sides usually leads to a happier team, a happier client, and better results.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. Um, and let's say we want to give people a kind of like clues in terms of what to expect from a client, because I feel like some of those questions you can preempt it. you can maybe look at your dashboard or do something and be like,
Mhm.
the client is going to ask about this, or the client is going to ask somebody. Is there any way of preparing ourselves to kind of be able to preempt when a client might have a question?
Yeah, and have a brief.
Yeah.
Do you also understand what is the market landscape the client is in? With AI and the wonderful news, I think it's easier for team members to actually put briefs together. When you have like a notebook LM, which everybody has access to,
Yes.
can you upload all of the reports and have a manager, as a person more senior, come in and actually ask questions? How is the industry doing? What are the latest news about the competitors? What are the latest earnings reports? There's so much information right now that it's available and everything can get summarized by you. It might not be perfect, but it
Yeah.
will give you an idea of the market,
Yeah.
current state, and then talk to your client
Yeah.
about to your team about where things are at and where do you want to move them forward. And also, if I can solve a problem for you guys today, what is
Mm,
that problem?
yeah.
I
Yeah.
always like to ask that question. If I can solve one or two things for you guys that it's a roadblock, what are those?
Absolutely. That's actually a really great way to definitely that preempt, because they are thinking, they might be like, oh, we have this issue, but if you already like try to even pull it out of them, it builds trust. It builds better of like, oh my God, this is someone that actually cares about not just the clicks and the revenue and the traffic, but actually what's actually going to make a difference to my business. Yeah. That's the So is that kind of thing that you'd say, like, how often should that kind of conversation come up? Should it be like maybe, I mean, I'll definitely say when you're onboarding the client, but like, how often should you ask that question? What are the roadblocks that you feel that we should help you with?
So I don't like to put a timeline on it because I
Mm,
think there's people that need those touch bases sooner than
yeah,
others. And
yeah,
it's a personality thing.
yeah,
So based on that, and you do your own discovery of the people you get to work with, right?
yeah,
So you can start by playing with that. It
yeah,
can be too soon, but it can be too late. So what is that sweet spot?
yeah,
And again, depending on the company, it might be every month.
yeah,
Some companies are okay doing it every 3 months.
yeah, yeah,
And you won't know until you've done it a few times.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Because you don't want to be the person that is checking in every month, and they're not that type of person, but other people do really care.
yeah.
Taking a step back often and figuring out what to do.
I'd actually also advise that because this is something that I don't know, someone previous managers told me about is like, ask. Actually, be like, look, we'd love to check in and we'd love to know what your roadblocks are. That kind of like big picture, how often do you want that communication to happen so that we actually discuss the ways that we can help with your overall strategy? Because the best way to know how to work with your client is to ask them. Because I feel like some agencies have too much of this template of like, this is how we do it and we'll do it with every single client. And then some
Mm-mm.
clients are just not happy. And then you're like, you need to be able to be flexible with these
Yeah,
things.
and I know one thing I always like to ask my team before I talk to a client too is where are we failing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I rather hear it first on my because nobody's perfect and we make mistakes and or
Yes.
sometimes we test something that we thought it was going to work and it doesn't. It happens, right?
Yes.
That's why it's called an experiment because we're
Yes.
gonna quote unquote play around and figure it out.
Yeah.
We're going with the best intentions, but it doesn't always pan out.
Yeah.
So sometimes even recognizing, even if the client doesn't know it, you're recognizing we know this went this way
Mm.
and this is what we're going to do forward. I just wanted to know that I am aware of it and the team is aware of it and we want to do something different. It just builds trust because we're all humans and individuals.
Yeah.
So if we always talk about the good, 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 it's to me it's a sketchy at some
Yes.
point.
Yes.
Things go south sometimes and it might be for a variety of reasons. Like, oh, we had this product launch and we were very excited about it, but we had a competitor that also did a thing. And it was
Yeah.
10 times better because of
Yeah.
these reasons. So if we
Yeah.
want to do something, try it again, these are the things we want to change.
Yeah.
Even having that conversation proactively, not because the client is asking you, but because you know it's right, that helps with trust.
Absolutely, absolutely. And because you actually even just touched on it, sometimes I won't ask this till a little bit later, but you know, about the fact that mistakes happen. I mean, this is the whole point of this podcast. It's the whole reason why I get guests to come up to talk about the mistakes have happened. Over 30 guests have come up, so we're not short of people who have experience with mistakes happening. And right now, I'd like you to like direct this to like managers, leaders, as to why is it important for us to discuss mistakes? I think we've talked about it from the point of view that we always learn, but I think you pointed out something very key there. It's actually to help clients as well, isn't it? So yeah, why is it important? Can you touch on that? Talk about that a little. Why is it important to actually instill kind of like this energy in your team to not be afraid to test things, to not be scared of like when a mistake happens, to not feel overwhelmed that, oh my God, this might be the whole end of my career. Why is it important to actually, yeah, not be afraid that mistakes will happen?
You can't avoid it. It's gonna
Yeah,
happen.
yeah,
So why keep things like a secret, gated, that nobody can know about it when you can avoid somebody else doing something else? That's why we have postmortems, which has been in the industry for forever. So I always find it interesting when people think about postmortems as, oh, I'm gonna be blamed on something.
yeah,
It's not. Don't focus on the people. Focus on what happened.
yeah,
And how can we avoid this from happening again? And if
yeah,
you keep a tracker of people's errors and mistakes and accidents, it will allow you to also see bigger trends,
yeah,
things that are happening at scale and you don't know it until
yeah,
you realize, sure, this actually has happened to 3 people in the past,
yeah,
let's call it quarter. And I think also something that I don't think companies and managers do a lot is recognizing your own mistakes. It's not just, oh, team, you go and talk about your mistakes, but I am exempt.
yeah. No, no,
You
no,
can't play it like that.
no. Exactly.
You
Yeah,
can't play it like that.
no.
Because then what is your authority and what are you actually instilling if you cannot say, you know what, I actually went through that again as well.
Yeah, yeah,
This is how I messed up in my experience. Let's try something like this. Do you agree? Have you experienced this before? How can we work on
yeah,
it together?
yeah.
Because we are not perfect.
No, no. And that's the biggest way of giving your team the confidence to not to not hide their mistakes. They're like, okay, my manager knows about the feeling of, going through a mistake. Actually, I feel shitty about myself right now. Let me get her help and so that I can get over that and get back to focusing on the work instead of, oh my God, I just made a mistake. Like you want a leader who can empathize with you of like going through a hard time of going through mistakes. So yeah, so we're gonna now talk about like the industry making mistakes, but like I'd just like you to us to finish that bit, this part of like, so what's like the one takeaway you'd like listeners to take from your story of like communicating with clients?
I'll say again, mistakes happen. The more you prepare for a situation, the better it's going to go in general. One thing I like to do, I don't know if I should say this, but it's true. One thing I like to do is I actually like to write how each people like to be treated.
Yeah,
There's people that like to be short answer. There's people that are okay with a vague timeline. There's
yeah,
people that are not. So are you considering all of that before you go into a meeting?
mm,
I like that a lot. And again, how can you be resourceful with all the information that's available out there today
yeah,
for you to have the best information possible and going to that client
yeah,
situation? Are you being open and honest? Are you recognizing that not everything is perfect? And
mm,
how do you keep that solutions oriented mindset to focus on this is where we are and this is where we want to go?
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great way to put that. Now going on to, I'm sure Tenuti like gets new business every once in a while or even like a lot of times, and you then do like an audit before you take on the client to see what needs to be done, and you find kind of maybe like several mistakes. You're like, oh my God, people are still doing that. That's what the last agency suggested, kind of thing. What are some of like the big mistakes that you feel some of the agencies are still making, or maybe consultants that might be making, that you're like, oh, we should have stopped doing that? And especially with the expertise in B2B, it would be nice if it's like, yeah, something that's related into the B2B space.
The one that I hate the most when I see it, it makes me cringe is when I see. or CPCs are super high. CPC, CPMs on B2B are super high in
Yeah.
general.
Yeah.
When I see a campaign that's a good campaign and then the budget is so low, they get 2 clicks a day. It makes me so furious.
Wow.
It doesn't matter if it's LinkedIn, Microsoft, Google. It doesn't matter which one it is. If you're getting
Yeah.
2, 4 clicks a day,
Yeah.
you're not going to get a conversion. I don't care. I
Yeah.
don't care what you are
Yeah.
doing anywhere else. I don't know why it makes me so upset about it.
Yeah.
So that one is very personal to my heart.
But how about if it's like it's simple, like they don't have the budget? Do you just advise don't run those kind of campaigns if you
Yeah.
don't have the budget?
Yeah.
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 And sometimes it also happens. Oh, it's because we are in LinkedIn and we're in Meta and we're in TikTok and we're in Reddit and we're in all of
Yeah.
these
Too
places.
many.
But then you're spending $1,000 on each.
Yeah.
No, you're
Yeah.
spreading yourself. That one also makes me mad.
Yeah. Spreading
You're
yourself too
spreading.
thin.
I
Yeah.
understand that everything's fancy and I understand your competitors are everywhere. But if
Yeah.
you don't have the budget, you can't get results out of anything.
No. No.
So that one
No.
makes me mad too. Now I have two
Interesting.
things that
Yes.
make me mad.
I saw the passion. I saw that. The passion come out on those ones. Yeah, guys, look at your budget. Spend it wisely. Don't put yourself everywhere. And if you can't afford a channel, don't put money in
Don't
it.
do
It's
it.
not, yeah, don't do it. It's not the end of the world. Yeah, there are just some channels that deserve, yeah, that are required because the performance will always be bad. You're never going to be actually able to see the true, this is how this channel works for me. How about in terms of like how people are using AI? I think like AI is like
Laughing because
the
I'm thinking about when I see
still thinking about how much you hate it. I love it. I'll give you some time to calm down. You like take deep breaths. My God, I can imagine you just thinking about your last audit you did. You saw it in your latest audit, didn't you? I love it.
what was the question about AI? I already lost train of
Yeah.
thought. We need to
It's
go
fine.
back.
You're still thinking about budgets. Let's talk about AI. AI and AI ever revolution. We know ChatGPT ads is being tested even right now in the US. But like, what are mistakes in terms of how people are using AI that people should be, that people should be wary of, or that you yourself you're trying to avoid doing?
I don't know if this is quote unquote a mistake, but thinking that AI is just to summarize stuff or upload a spreadsheet and spit something you back. It
Yeah.
can do so much more. This is where I was 3 years ago. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
people talk about AI, but you can't do anything with it. That's not true anymore.
No.
That is not where we are.
No.
I actually have a team member. His name's Matt Davini, wonderful guy. He came to me with, he created through AI Studio, actually a thing that connects to Google Ads, and it will do an audit for you. And we will
Okay.
give you the tables with data. And, people are doing things. Simon Paulton at Tenuity, he created a Slack group for people when he's trying to figure, and he did this wonderful thing. He's like, this is not probably applicable to work, but I learned you can do this. And he posted his children, I don't know, let's call it soccer or baseball, I think it was, dates and times that they have practiced. You can put it into Gemini and tell it to add to, it was a PDF, and to add it into your calendar. I didn't know you could do that. So
Okay.
the ways people are actually using and experimenting with AI is changing. So if you're just using it for asking basic questions,
Yeah.
there's so much more you can do with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean, I
go
guess we're in the
out
world of,
there.
we're talking about AI agents now. And if you don't think about what agents could be, but you're still thinking about it, just, prompting it for a question to give you an answer, you're the one that's going to be left behind. You're the one that's going to be like, oh, AI is
100%.
not good. And I know people need to be careful. I saw someone write about the fact of like when people still using AI as ChatGPT therapy. And literally my brain goes, yeah, no.
Sure.
I know AI can do so many things, but no, get a thrill therapist, like get a human being. That is not where the direction that AI should be going into for usage, in my opinion. So yeah, we really need to be careful with it.
Say, if you, as marketers, if we don't trust AI fully to make an assessment of something, which is valid, why would you trust your health
Yeah.
to just a machine. You always want, I think the machine can help you get there unrelated. I was in the ER recently and I was thinking there when I'm there just waiting for the results and they're trying to figure out what I have. I was like, I have to assume if it's not happening right now, it's going to happen soon, where they're just going to plug your symptoms and AI is going to tell them what you have. And then the doctor, based on you and how you look and feel, they're going
We'll
to
confirm.
say,
Yeah.
yeah, this makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, which is how I think we should be using AI for PPC management as well.
100%. The one thing I've been saying, oh my God, so much is like, it's the experts that need to be behind. It should be a doctor using AI
Yeah.
to try to diagnose their patient, not just some layperson who's sitting there going, I have these symptoms. Tell me what I have. Like, no, you'll still need a doctor to confirm and say that, yes, that sounds about right. Or, I mean, I know some people are using it to, like, a friend of mine was like, I used AI to diagnose, this how doctors had ignored me. But I think you then should then go, look, I've done my diagnosis. You take it to a doctor so that they can be like, they might not have time. And that's the thing. AI should help the experts free up their time, but the experts should still be having their eye over the final results and to ensure that when it's applied properly, kind of thing, to where it's going to be used. Same with marketers. It should be the marketing experts that should be using AI as to how to implement it with ads, ChatGPT ads, LinkedIn ads, whatever kind of ads, and not just a layperson who's like, yeah, I've got a business. I'm just going to use ChatGPT to create my campaigns. You're not going to
Sometimes,
create a good campaign.
and sometimes there might be something that you didn't think about.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
tells you this is a rare situation, but it could be this.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Andrea, you have given us so much of your time and we're so grateful, and you've given us just a fantastic, amazing story. I love that you brought your passion for what you do into our stories, and we absolutely love it. But before we go, our last final, very fun, non-PPC question. If your PPC career were a movie, what would the title be?
Can it be a made up title or
Of
does it have
course.
to be
No, it can be made up, totally made up.
a passionate girl?
Okay. I love it. Yeah, and we know why. You love what you do. You love it. Yeah, you've got the passion for this industry for sure. And you've got passion red. I feel that red that you're wearing. It's a very passionate color. I feel like you're
Well, I'll
very.
tell my mom. She gifted me this sweater to me last
Yeah,
year.
Lord, yeah. Tell her that I absolutely love it. I complimented it
We
like
will
10
send you
times.
one. If we find it, we'll send you one.
I love it. Oh, I love it. Seriously, it's so cute. But yeah,
Thank you.
a passionate girl of B2B marketing. Love it. And yeah, if people want to hear about your passionate thoughts about the industry, where can they find you?
They can find me on LinkedIn under my name, Andrea Cruz. And then, yes, I still have my ex account, as we mentioned. That's at
I'll
Andrea
forgive
Cruz
you.
92. And if you have questions about here, you can always visit our website. Looking forward to hearing
Amazing.
from you.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that, Andrea. And yeah, that's been such a great chat to have with you. And yeah, I look forward to catching up with you later on this year, hopefully in Boston.
So excited about that.
I know.
It's gonna
All
be
right.
great.
It will. Thank you. Bye. Thank you so much, Andrea, for that fantastic story and those great lessons of how to deal with clients, how to ensure that communication line is open, even though you might not have an direct answer for your client. And even though that you might be thinking, how do I, buy myself some time? Sometimes that's what you need, to buy yourself some time to ensure that you give the right information to your client. Like just silence and saying nothing to a client, or doing the whole, I don't know, especially when you've got quite a, generous paycheck coming to you, isn't quite good enough. And we should be able to recognize that. We should find ways to, share information, show our knowledge, even though we might not know exactly the answer to the exact question that we're being asked. So yeah, there are definitely many ways around this, and we should definitely be being creative to find those answers that, a client actually wants, which might not actually be the question that they ask, but actually going for actually the answer that they need to hear in that moment. So yes, that's a really great lesson that we got from Andrea there. So for more information and the full transcript of that fantastic fantastic discussion. Please go to podcast.ppc.live to get all the details there. So yeah, back on our PPC Live events, our first event of the year went off without a hitch. We had so many fantastic audience members. We had Niels, Dave, and Katzel, sharing some very important information to help with our career, to help with, lead quality when it comes to, B2B kind of advertising, and Niels, the scripts master himself, sharing some really, really useful scripts that we can use for our e-commerce advertising. So yeah, I'm sorry that you missed that. If you did, for those who came, thank you so much. But if you did miss it, we've got the online version happening on the 18th of February. So that's next week, Wednesday. So whenever you're listening to this, I hope you still have time. Or, you should still have a few days by the time you're listening to this to catch that live, and to be able to get a live. We're going to do a live Q&A with Dave and Niels as well. They're going to be joining us for a live Q&A, which that'll be great to have, to participate in that, to come with your questions. But yeah, it will be also available on demand if you can't join us live, and you'll be able to see that whenever. So check that out on our YouTube page. And also, before I leave you, I am delighted to share that I am taking on coaching clients. And if you go to themarketinganu.com, you'll be able to book some time with me, to book a discovery call, to figure out what you need in terms of things like building your confidence, trying to deal with salary negotiation, trying to deal with a manager that maybe is micromanaging you, and you just want to get him off your back to show that you are in the right position, that you are the perfect person for this job. So yeah, let's have a chat so that we can figure out what to do, how to take your journey further, and to ensure that you're taking control of your career. It's time that we start really working on building our career and working on the job of our career, not just the job of doing a 9-to-5 job. So yeah, get in touch with me so that I can help you with that. So yeah, I hope you have enjoyed this show and enjoyed this episode. I look forward to bringing more PPC F-ups and triumphs next week. Thank you. Bye.